At this point, there is no easy answer for them. Here in the parking lot, the dumpsters are out. Renovations on the exterior of the building have already begun. Still, many of these tenants have nowhere to go. They say, quite frankly, they do not trust the water coming out of their taps. Instead, they rely on bottled water. As soon as we arrived at the McCullum Ranch, a woman asked us to leave. We complied. It's clear there are still people living here, but neighbors say it's fewer than before. It actually started in that Speedway parking lot. The suspect took off from there, entered this parking lot, hopped the curb, went through these bushes. Is there any way we could just ask you a couple questions? Wilson County Sheriff Calvin Woodard once again declines to take questions. Sheriff, what about those Facebook comments that you made regarding the dogs? Is there any update on that? And we are actually standing right next to the car that this male victim was in when he was shot. Police say that the victim was shot in the shoulder and rushed to Duke to be treated. Again, this is the vehicle that police say was involved in this. Now, we know that the car was headed north on US 70 when this shooting happened. Police are not giving us any information at this point as to the motive or if the shooter was actually in this vehicle or in another vehicle. We don't really know exactly how this happened, but you can see that there is a lot of damage done to this vehicle. You can see some evidence markers on, or gloves rather, on the back of the vehicle. Now, also in the last few minutes, US 70 has reopened on the northbound side to traffic. But again, the car is in the median, so the ramp to 98 remains closed. Again, police are continuing to investigate at this point. We'll keep you updated both on air and online. For now, we are live in Durham. Amy Cutler, CBS 17 News. RTC this complex and says they are committed to working with the tenants that live here, but bottom line, they do not want them to remain here past that August 23rd deadline. The clock is ticking for these low-income senior citizens. About 30 of them still have nowhere to go.
It's hard for us to find somewhere to go.
The place they've called home, some for decades, has been sold. The new owner, Artesia Real Estate, will no longer accept the federal vouchers they use to pay their rent. After checking out another one of their properties, several emails and phone calls. Hi, this is Amy Cutler calling from CBS 17. I managed to track down the owner of Artesia Real Estate, Colin Brothers.
We felt like we had given it, ample notice to the residents.
According to tax records, Brothers and his company bought Winters Haven back in June of 2017. Soon after, tenants were informed of the decision and told they'd have until August of this year to be out.
Our primary goal is not to create homelessness, so we're going to try to work with these residents.
Brothers points the finger at HUD. The Raleigh Housing Authority says HUD still hasn't come through with the vouchers for these tenants. They then need to find a landlord willing to accept it. To put it in perspective, the Raleigh Housing Authority says nearly 3,700 vouchers have been issued for the city. They tell us there's no list of participating landlords. And a lot of them are concerned they're going to be out on the street come August 23rd.
There's an unfortunate reality that most of our shelters on any given day are going to be at capacity.
Wake County Commissioners Chairwoman Jessica Holmes says next year's budget includes an additional $15 million dedicated to building more affordable housing. Now that $15 million will go to adding an additional 2,500 affordable homes and apartments in the next 5 years. But with HUD contracts coming up at complexes like this, Holmes says we're in an affordable housing crisis. Live in Raleigh, Amy Cutler, CBS 17 News. The store employees tell me they could not believe how brazen this guy was. They've got a surveillance camera and motion detectors. Still, it didn't stop this guy.
Why steal from us?
Ultimate Comics has lots of masked bandits, but most of them are contained to the pages of the comic books they sell. Now they're dealing with a real-life one.
It was an attack on not just our store, but the local comic book store is a community.
It's just terrible to hear that somebody's capable of doing something like that to a place you really care about.
Employees say their Durham store was hit first. It happened late Sunday night. They tell us the thief forced his way in through a door. Then he headed to their Cary store, where he got in by smashing the front window. Then finally this morning, the Raleigh store was burglarized. Surveillance cameras captured this image of the villain. They say he went in alone and was after
some action figures that we sell. They're sold by Sideshow Collectibles. They're called Hot Toys.
each of them worth a couple hundred to several $100s. They estimate the stolen items and damage at about $20,000. They say it doesn't appear to be an inside job.
We feel pretty confidently that more than likely it wasn't internal or a former employee. There's some things that we've seen through each of the stores that some of our folks or former folks would have known that went untouched.
It's just awful. You don't want these things to happen in places like these.
Ultimate Comics quickly took to Facebook to let people know what had happened. Their post shared hundreds of times. Now, that store manager tells me that they have received calls from all across the area, all across the country. So many people hoping police catch who's ever behind this. Live in Raleigh, Amy Cutler, CBS 17.